China is beating us in this AI war. Like, I hate to say that, but a lot of companies are saying that they are using Chinese models because they are just so much cheaper, and the performance difference is not enough to justify the crazy higher expenditure with the American AI companies. So Chinese AI companies are specifically designing their model releases and their business model and everything to be able to undercut the American companies. Like, they are literally specifically designing their system to make it so that they can charge almost nothing, or they're just open sourcing it, right? Like, whether it's open source or you pay for a cloud provider through Kimi, through DeepSeek, through any of these other providers, you're going to pay a third of what you would normally pay for Anthropic or OpenAI or Gemini or whatever. So these Chinese companies are genuinely undercutting all of the value that these American AI companies have, and they're not that far behind. Originally, they were, miles off in terms of performance, but now they're just distilling the models. And so they're literally 2-3 months behind. And while that used to matter a lot, it does not matter as much anymore. You can still use Claude Opus 4.6 to do a lot of the stuff that you might be using 4.8 to do. Right? It's still a very good model, even though it's not the frontier, it's not the newest, the most critically thinking, whatever. You can still use it to do a lot of the very mainstream automation tasks that we're trying to do. So in the event that something happens where the American AI companies just simply cannot compete with the Chinese AI companies, if they're part of the American AI Sovereign Wealth Fund, they are going to do everything within their governmental power to keep that company alive.
Yeah, this is a pretty insane take on it, but I mean, it's clear as day. Personally, I had experimented with it Moonshot's model and which is Kimi, and I haven't done DeepSeek yet, but DeepSeek is even more popular than Moonshot ever was because it's DeepSeek. Everybody heard about that when it went viral the first time, so they're all familiar. Now this second time around, and like, people are dipping back into it. And although I've personally have drifted away from using them, because like, as soon as there was other really good agentic American frontier labs that were releasing great models, and not all the crazy usage drops and unreliable consistency, whatever. Okay. I drifted right back to, to one of the frontier labs, but also it's because right now it's highly subsidized. So, and that may be a temporary thing. So like, whenever that is taken away, as they start to like pull back and reveal the real cost of these things, like some of these other options may be like the only choices that a normal business can afford. And then you have open source, like that open source mentality. So if I go to open source style tool, there's one called Open Code. Cursor isn't open source, but like, you have like a buffet of all the models you use. You know what I mean? Now I can pick the top most expensive model, which I think is Opus 4.8 extended, or whatever the smartest one is, high effort, X high or whatever, max. And like, spend, there's a cool meme of a gun shooting off, and it's like Opus max 4.8, and it's just like, bah, 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 and it's draining the bank account, whatever. And then there's one of like GPT 5.5, and it's like, boom.
Yeah.
And then they show DeepSeek, and it's like nothing. It's like I can go all day. And I mean, it's a great comparison because it's like, it may get you further and like do some really tasks like really solid good, but you got to make sure that one shot, like that you got to make sure it's correct, because if you miss, you're done, right? Whereas with the other models, you got the small tasks and you got a bunch of little small tasks, and you're working on things like that. Developers and builders like can leverage those tools and use the higher ones for planning. So I mean, it's a win-win.
Exactly.
There.
And so it's a win-win for the developer, but you got to think about it from Anthropic's point of view, right? Let's just run some numbers. So let's take two very simple processes that we use AI models for nowadays. Okay. So let's say transcription. We want to transcribe an audio file into text. We want it to be very accurate. We want it to be able to label speakers, all that kind of stuff. Okay. That's one. The other one is parsing documents. So we have an unstructured document. It's got a bunch of different notes, got all this stuff, and then we want to turn that into a structured table. Okay, two very simple tasks, relatively speaking. We're not asking it to come up with an idea for an ad. We're not asking it to, critically think about a math problem or do anything complicated, right? We're just trying to get it to do the basic stuff now that we want AI to do. Parse documents and let's say summarize. Don't even say transcribe. Let's just say summarize. Okay, so you want it to summarize meeting transcript and you want it to be able to parse documents. Those two simple use cases, let's say they make up 5% of Anthropic's shares, right? Of the number of tokens that Anthropic and OpenAI and Gemini are able to bill for. That's a 5% cut in the overall revenue that these companies would normally get if you just use one tool to do it. Now think about those two use cases times 1,000, right? Because that's the thing with language models. These models are doing very predictable things at small scale levels, but it's really when you put them all together that you need these like frontier models to be able to orchestrate and think logically and critically and be able to give you more complicated output. If 20% of what Anthropic and OpenAI are charging for using the tokens for their highest rated models, their most expensive models, if 20% of all of their token revenue generation is able to be taken away by Chinese companies, that's a 20% revenue top line cut, right? So that alone is, again, only in the setting that we're in today. Right now, these models that are Chinese, that are open source, that are really cheap, they're able to do those tasks very effectively and much cheaper and much faster. That's just right now. As these models continue to develop, the Chinese models and the open source models, as they continue to develop and get better and get trained more and get more real world examples and stuff like that, they're going to continue to cut. It's going to be from 20 to 25%, from 25% to 30%. Eventually, you're only going to need the frontier models genuinely for either the consumer that just doesn't want to set this up, or if it's like a truly technical research problem that you really need deep critical research and thinking to be able to do. And that's only going to be 5 to 10% of the actual use cases that you need AI for, right? And so that's what I think is really the biggest thing to watch out for, and what I'm looking at with these big operations that are going on, where the US government might end up owning part of these American AI companies. Like from the government's perspective, it can really only be because they see this Chinese threat and they're saying we have to put some kind of domestic incentive in place so that we can protect these companies if they go under.
Hey, David Murillo here, your host from SaaS with DaaS podcast. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and check out some of our other clips right here. And you can go ahead and see one of our other episodes or even clips from this same episode from SaaS with DaaS podcast. We'll see you on the next one.